If you think you're here by chance, you haven't understood what's happening in your life. Because this frequency doesn't just show up at any moment. It appears when your destiny is about to change. And this is not a metaphor. What you're about to hear will activate a part of your energy field that has been dormant for years. So pay attention. Visualization is not what changes your life. Vibration is. And while you visualize what you want without changing your frequency, your reality keeps responding to who you truly are on the inside, not to who you pretend to be on the outside. Right at this moment, your field is already being reorganized. You might feel a warmth in your chest, a strange lightness, or even a random shiver. This is real, and it's the first sign that your frequency has started to move. And there's no turning back. If you leave now, you'll miss the most powerful part, the revelation of the code Thoth hid for millennia. And that only reveals itself when you start vibrating the right way. But if you stay with me until the end, I promise you, you won't walk away the same. Because when this frequency stabilizes, the entire universe starts to recognize you. What is within you is older than time. When your vibration returns to the origin, the universe bows before your silence. You've made it this far because something inside you started vibrating differently. It might not have been a thought. It might not even have been a feeling. It was like a silent call, something that didn't pass through logic, but went straight through your field. And when that happens, there's no turning back. You've accessed a frequency that doesn't respond to words or explanations. And that's why you're ready to hear what was never written. This is the moment when the figure of Thoth appears, not as a mythological character, but as a symbol of a wisdom that resisted time manipulation and distortion. Thoth wasn't just a divine scribe. He was consciousness itself, encoded in vibrational form, a messenger of knowledge that couldn't be delivered to the masses because it couldn't be read. It could only be felt. And that's why many approach Hermetic texts and don't understand a thing, because they weren't made to be understood by the mind. They were made to trigger a vibration, to internally reorganize something that had been disconnected. Every symbol, every word, every pause has a specific frequency, a hidden code behind the form. Thoth didn't entrust his teachings to the written word because he knew the world distorts everything it touches. He spoke with his eyes, with silence, with the field. He taught through presence, through the energetic coherence between what one is and what one emanates. And that's how the true initiates understood. Not because they understood intellectually, but because something within them awakened in response to the vibration. This is the difference between information and revelation. Information goes through the mind, revelation through the field. And you're starting to notice this. You're starting to feel that there's something not being said, but being transmitted. A content without form, a truth that escapes words, but goes straight to your core. This knowledge was never hidden out of malice. It was veiled to protect its essence, because only those vibrating at the correct frequency can access it. There's no way to fake it, no way to force it, and this is the purest of spiritual filters. Only those who are already awakening can awaken. Only those who have silenced themselves enough can hear what has no sound, and what those taught at these deeper levels wasn't a technique or a ritual. It was a memory, a return to the original vibration of being. A dissolving of mental noise, so the truth could rise on its own. He said, real knowledge can't be given. It can only be activated. And that's exactly what's happening to you now. You might not understand everything rationally, but something inside you is opening. As if an ancient scroll, sealed for millennia, was starting to unroll right in front of your soul. And as that happens, you start vibrating differently. Your frequency begins to shift. You enter a field where the universe no longer listens to words. It responds to your vibration, and that vibration is becoming coherent. It's starting to resonate with the truth that Thoth kept in silence, a truth that can't be written, but can be embodied. But for this frequency to unlock the new life that's already pulsing around you, you need to get past an obstacle most people never notice, an invisible, subtle block that's not outside. And that is starting to dissolve now, because you're stuck in the reality you claim to want to change. And here comes the part no one wants to admit, but that needs to be said. The reason your reality keeps repeating patterns even when you visualize something better is because the vibration behind those desires still carries the signature of what you want to avoid. You want to change, but you vibrate like someone who's still stuck. You want to manifest the new, but you're still anchored in the emotions of the old. There's no point in visualizing prosperity with a heart full of fear. The field doesn't hear words, it hears frequency. The universe, has Thoth himself taught, doesn't respond to what you think you want. It responds to what you're in vibrational coherence with. And that doesn't depend on your intention. It depends on your state. The all is mind, yes, but mind in a broader sense. Mind as conscious vibration, not isolated thought. Because thought can lie, vibration cannot. It reveals exactly where you are. That's why so many people get frustrated with spiritual practices. They spend hours visualizing, making affirmations, trying to convince themselves they already have what they desire, but inside, they still feel lack, fear, doubt. They keep reacting to the world as if they're still lost. And the field picks up on that vibration instantly. It doesn't matter how hard you try to appear aligned. If the vibration you're holding behind the scenes is incoherent, the universe isn't impressed by performance. It responds to what's at the core, the vibrational truth of your identity, who you are. When you're not trying to control anything. And this is where everything starts to make sense. Because the mind asks, but the body vibrates. It's your body that holds the real frequency. It's what carries the records of your story, your deepest emotions, the beliefs you've repeated until they became patterns. And until the body is vibrationally re-educated, it will keep emitting the signal of the old version, the version that wants change, but doesn't feel safe in the new. You can repeat 1,000 times that you're free, prosperous, loved. But if your body still reacts with tension, anxiety, resistance, then that's the signal the field is reading. And that's why nothing changes, or it changes for a moment and then goes back to the same place, because the dominant vibration hasn't shifted. That's the prison no one sees. It's not a cell, it's a disorganized field, a contradictory signal that tells the universe, I want the new, but I'm still stuck in the old. And as long as this internal conflict exists, your reality will keep following the same pattern. And it's not because the universe is punishing you. It's because it's being faithful to your frequency. It always has been. But there is an exact point where everything starts to change. And that point is much simpler and more dangerous than it seems. Because it doesn't happen out loud. It doesn't come with a warning. It shows up in the detail, in the micro gesture, in the subtle. It's that moment when you tell yourself it's okay, I trust. But your chest still feels tight. Your breathing is still shallow. Your body is still on alert. And that's exactly where the mistake that sabotages everything lives. Because the field doesn't respond to the phrase. It responds to the tension. This is where most people fail without realizing it. They try to align the mind, but forget the body. And the body holds the memory of what you haven't yet overcome. It vibrates not yet, even when your mind is affirming already is. You can talk about abundance, but if your stomach tightens when you think about money, the frequency you're sending out is lack. You can affirm that you're ready for love, but if your body tenses when someone gets close, the field reads rejection. What you feel in the invisible is more powerful than any positive phrase you can say out loud. And it's not that you're lying, it's that you're still carrying old layers of fear, of doubt, of protection, layers that weren't consciously chosen, but that settled over time for survival. Your body learned to protect itself by vibrating distance. But now, you want to attract. And that's where the conflict happens. The body says, I can't yet. The mind says, I want it now. The field receives both signals, and since there's no coherence, it doesn't respond, or worse, it responds to the more dominant vibration, which is almost always the one rooted in the body. And that's why everything seems stuck. You think you're doing everything right, but in truth, you're sending a split frequency. The universe then returns what it understands, the same cycle, the same repetition, the same sense of powerlessness, and all of this without you realizing the exact point of failure. But now, you see it. And just seeing that point already begins to dissolve the pattern, the vibration that Thoth called crack. When everything is already yours, What does this mean in practice? It means that it's not the strength of your will that transforms your life. It's the strength of your stable vibration. Because while your mind still swings between hope and doubt, the universe also remains undecided. But when you firmly stabilize an internal state, even without proof, even without guarantees, the field has no choice. It adjusts everything to reflect who you've become. The day your frequency becomes, your destiny isn't an event with fireworks. It's quiet. Sometimes it goes unnoticed, but you feel it. You feel it when you wake up, and for the first time, the heaviness is gone. You feel it when you realize you're no longer begging for signs. You feel it when you respond to a provocation without reacting. Like, before you feel it, when in the middle of chaos, something in you remains centered, intact, safe. That's what the universe responds to, that energetic stability, that coherence between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. When those three vectors point in the same direction, the field recognizes a clear vibrational pattern, and a clear pattern creates a clear reality. It's not about being perfect or being happy all the time. It's about consistently vibrating what you want to live, even in silence, even when no one believes, even when everything looks the same on the outside. But here's the subtle trap. Most people touch this state and then abandon it. They hold it for minutes, for hours, but then the old self sneaks back in. It brings a thought, an insecurity, an emotional trigger, and without realizing it, the body returns to the previous vibration. The field feels the oscillation, and what was being formed unravels. That's why so many transformations seem promising but don't last, because the signal wasn't maintained. And the field only builds around what is stabilized. So the real turning point isn't doing something grand. It's holding a clean vibration long enough for the field to recognize it as the new baseline. This requires presence, attention, a kind of energetic discipline that doesn't come from effort, but from the decision to no longer collapse into the old pattern. And when you do that, when you hold it, even without immediate results, something changes. Time stops being the enemy. Waiting becomes light, confirmations start to arrive without you asking. Coincidences increase. The way people look at you changes. Doors that seemed locked unlock themselves. Not because you begged, but because your presence changed. And when your presence changes, everything changes. This is the point where your frequency becomes your destiny, where you stop wanting and start living, where the dream stops being a future desire and becomes your vibrational identity. But all of this is only possible when a very specific frequency starts to pulse within you. A vibration as quiet as it is firm, as subtle as it is powerful. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Because when it awakens, there's no going back. But this only happens when you enter a frequency so specific, so aligned with the truth of your being, that the reality around you has no choice but to respond. This vibration has a rare name, preserved in the oldest schools of esoteric wisdom. Srak. Thoth didn't describe it as an emotion, nor as a state of positive thinking. He said that Srak was a vibration that only activates when the being stops seeking, stops projecting, stops waiting, and starts simply being. It's the moment when the separation between desire and presence dissolves, where I want is replaced by I am, and not in speech, in vibration. This vibration changes lives because it emits a signal so clean, so coherent, so silently firm that it moves through the quantum field like an unmistakable signature. The universe recognizes this pattern because it doesn't carry doubt. It doesn't carry anxiety. It doesn't carry the frequency of still lacking. It carries completeness. It vibrates as something already fulfilled. And here's the point. No one tells you the quantum field doesn't respond to what you think you deserve. It responds to what you already vibrate as present reality. And this vibration is only sustained when body, mind, and field are integrated in the same frequency. This integration creates what the ancients called the fixed point in the eternal motion, a vibrational anchor that stops oscillating between past and future and fixes itself in the absolute now. So AK pulses exactly like that. As a vibration that rests, that doesn't stir, that doesn't need to prove anything. It is stable and therefore magnetic. It doesn't push, it attracts. It doesn't force. It allows. You can feel when someone is in this frequency. It's a presence that calms the environment, even in silence. A person in CRAK can walk into a room and without saying anything, shift the field of those nearby, because this vibration works beyond words. It's an energetic language, a direct transmission that alters the surrounding field without needing arguments, without needing effort. It's powerful because it's clean. It's not mixed with fear or a desire to control. It's vibrating, conscious surrender. And that surrender isn't passivity. It's the highest form of vibrational action. It's the action of becoming one with what you want, to live to the point where there's no more separation between you and the desired reality. That's why this vibration changes lives, because it silently shifts the field. First, it changes how you feel, then it changes how you act, and then, without realizing it, you start making choices that align with the new timeline. Small choices, a no you didn't have the courage to say before, a yes that feels light even without a rational explanation, a pause before reacting, a deeper breath before deciding. These subtle shifts are the sign that CRAK has started operating in you. And when this state becomes more frequent, it creates vibrational coherence. And that coherence is what the universe recognizes as readiness. It's when the field understands you've stopped rating like someone who's trying. You've started vibrating like someone who already is. And when that happens, the signs start to appear, but not as forced answers. They come naturally at the rhythm of the vibration you emit. They come as unsolicited messages, as unlikely encounters, as doors that open without you knocking. And more importantly, they come as internal confirmations. Because even if nothing outside you changes immediately, your peace has already settled in. You wake up and feel it. The day hasn't even begun, but something is different. You look at the problems from before and realize they no longer carry the same weight. Not because they disappeared, but because you're no longer vibrating from the frequency of fear. You're operating from the frequency of certainty. And certainty is the master code of CRAK. It's not arrogant. It's not stubborn. It's quiet. It simply knows. It knows everything is already on its way. It knows the field has already heard. It knows the destiny has already been imprinted in the invisible. And now, all that's left is to hold the pulse. That's how reality bends. Not before the will that screams, but before the vibration that remains. And now that this state has begun to awaken in you, get ready, because the field will no longer treat you as someone who's learning. It will treat you as someone who already knows. And that's when the most unexpected signs start to show up. Signs so clear, so precise, that they'll show you're finally vibrating in the field of your new life. And this is just the beginning. The moment when the signs start to show up, and they are not a coincidence. Suddenly, you start to notice something strange. A number keeps showing up on the clock, on a receipt total, on a license plate. 3 digits that seem to follow you wherever you go, even though you never looked for them. 777. And no matter how much your mind tries to say it's a coincidence, your body feels something different. A subtle sense of confirmation, like the universe whispering that it heard you. And it did hear you. Both taught that certain numerical signs are not just symbolic codes. They are vibrational pulses emitted back by the field as a direct response to your frequency. And 777 is one of them. It doesn't announce what's going to happen. It reveals what is already happening. It doesn't point to the future. It mirrors the now. Seeing this number isn't a prediction. It's a vibrational mirror, a confirmation that the SAAK frequency has started to stabilize in your field, that you're no longer trying to get to where you want. You've started to move from a place of already being there. 777 marks exactly that, the silent transition between wanting and being. And the curious thing is that it only shows up when you stop looking. Because while you search for signs with anxiety, the field interprets it as doubt. But when you let go, when you rest in vibrational certainty, the field returns signs like this, not as magic, but as an echo in ancient Hermetic traditions. 777 represented the perfect triad, mind, body, and field in resonance, not as an ideal, but as a real state. It's the vibration of someone who stops sending mixed signals, who no longer lives in contradiction between what they say, what they feel, and what they do. When those three align, the field responds 707. And when that happens, the world seems different. Not because everything outside changed, but because you changed inside. And now, the universe is simply responding. Small things flow with ease, conversations gain depth. You feel as if you're being guided by something invisible, and you are. But this is where the biggest test begins. Because even with the sign, even with the echo, the outside world may still not look visibly different. The bills are still there. Work feels the same. People remain unaware, and the doubt starts to creep in. This is the point where many give up, because they feel like they did everything right, but the external still hasn't fully reflected the internal shift. It's the vibrational test that separates those who awaken from those who only sample it. And it doesn't come as a divine trial, it comes as an energetic check-in. Are you truly steady in the new frequency? Or were you just excited? The old self tries to return. It starts with a subtle thought. This is just a coincidence. Then comes another. Nothing's really changing. Then comes the fear. What if this is all an illusion? And when you listen, you begin to drop vibrationally without noticing. Both warn. The old always screams the loudest just before it dies, because the old version of you knows it's losing ground, and it'll do anything to stay in control. It'll provoke. It'll use memories. It'll dig up stories from the past. It'll recreate familiar scenarios just to pull you back into the old cycle. But that isn't failure. That's the sign. You're right on the edge. This is when the new begins to be born. And the secret isn't to conquer fear. It's to stop obeying. To stop reacting like before. To stop giving the same meaning to things because the field doesn't expect perfection. It expects stability. You don't need to eliminate doubt. You just need not to follow it, not to respond to the call of the old pattern. Because the universe is watching which signal you hold, when everything still looks the same. And that is the decisive moment. This is where you become the reference point of the new reality. And if you can hold on just one more step, just one more, you'll step into the reality that's been waiting for you all along. And it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives as recognition, as return, as home, as if you had always belonged to it and had simply forgotten until now. The vibrational test that separates those who awaken from those who give up. And then something subtle starts to happen. The external reality, the one that seemed fixed, predictable, resistant, begins to reorganize. Not in a spectacular way, not with big events, but in the details. A path that seemed closed opens through a simple conversation. An answer you'd been waiting for weeks arrives without explanation. A delay puts you in the right place, at the exact time to cross paths with someone who changes everything. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't luck. This is the field responding. It's the vibration consolidating to the point that the universe begins to adjust the timelines around what you're holding. What was once only invisible now starts to take form. The energy you cultivated in silence begins to take shape, as if an old frequency were being dismantled, and in its place, a new structure was being anchored. The ancient alchemists called this the first movement, the moment when matter hasn't fully changed, but it is already yielded to the influence of the new field. It's like the wind that starts to blow before the storm. A vibration moves first, form responds. Afterward, you start to notice the people around you react differently. Your boundaries begin to be respected. Situations that drained your energy lose their grip. The world looks the same, but it no longer reacts the same because it's not reacting to what you think. It's reacting to what you're vibrating now. And in that moment, something delicate happens. A point of transition, a vibrational threshold, a space between the old and the new. And everything can either blossom or collapse. This moment doesn't announce its arrival. It only shows up when you're ready to decide whether you will hold the new or return to the old out of fear of taking the final step. This step is not physical, it's energetic. It's the moment when you stop trying, stop pretending, stop wishing, and simply begin to live what once felt like just a distant dream. You stop visualizing, stop looking for signs, stop repeating mantras as if they were keys. Because you've understood, you've become the point of attraction. And when that happens, everything changes. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The universe is no longer resisting because you stopped resisting. The separation between what I want and who I am disappeared. You're no longer in search mode. You've entered embodiment mode. The frequency that was once just an ideal is now your baseline vibration. You wake up in it, you move from it, decide from it, and effortlessly it organizes the path ahead of you. Not because you asked, but because you aligned. This is where everything reveals itself. Not because reality was forced, but because you stabilized enough to allow it to emerge naturally. You understood that the field never responded to your wanting. It always responded to your vibrational consistency. And that consistency is now you. You no longer live waiting for the next miracle, because the miracle has become your natural state. You no longer seek external validation, because your vibration has become your confirmation. The universe already recognizes this. It feels this. And that's why it begins to return versions of life that once seemed impossible. Not because you deserve more, but because now you hold more. And if, while hearing this, you felt something click inside, a clarity that didn't come from logic, but from the body, an unexpected peace, a silent vibration that anchored you effortlessly, then don't be mistaken. You're not visualizing the new life. You're already vibrating in it. And now, it's vibrating back. If you made it this far, it's because this frequency truly touched something inside you. So write in the comments now, my frequency has already started to change that way. We anchor this energy together and strengthen the field of everyone who is watching too. And if you want to support the channel more directly, there's a link in the first pinned comment where you can contribute and help us spread more of these activations around the world. Your vibration is creating a new reality. But don't leave yet. A special video has been set aside for you. It's the natural continuation of this journey. Click on the screen now, and I'll meet you there. What comes next will show you how to apply this to your life in a real way.